The basketball gods were smiling on San Antonio Tuesday night as the Spurs won the 2023 NBA Draft Lottery. That means, unless doomsday happens between now and June 22nd, Victor Wembanyama is bound to be a Spur, and not even another civil war is stopping it. The 19-year-old, 7'4" French Phenom is a dream prospect that could change a franchise overnight, and Gregg Popovich and the rest of the San Antonio Spurs front office is no stranger to dealing with generational big man. But as much as destiny has stepped in for both parties, will this be a walk in the park? Unless you're that 12-year-old nephew from Reddit who acts like he knows everything and draws definitive conclusions from advanced stats, you should be pretty familiar with how the last number 1 Spurs pick turned out. That selection, Tim Duncan, aka the Big Fundamental, was the cornerstone of Spurs basketball for 20 seasons from 1997 to 2016. His resume speaks for itself. 5 NBA rings, 3 Finals MVPs, 2 League MVPs, 15 All-Star selections, 15-time All-NBA member, and 15-time All-Defensive Team nods. He was a first-ballot Hall of Famer under the guidance of Popovich, whose only flaw was he had an old man's game, if there was any at all. Because of the luck of the draw, Wembanyama will play under the best coach in the NBA, with the backing of the classiest organization in all of pro sports, who knows exactly what to do in these situations. If you're an inexperienced software engineer, working at Google should be the dream environment. San Antonio is that franchise for young, talented individuals like Victor Wembanyama. And it's not like Duncan was their only successful test subject. David Robinson, their other number 1 overall pick in 1987, was less successful than TD, but has a resume that could rival any center in his era. He won a League MVP award in 1995, was part of the original Dream Team, had a Defensive Player of the Year plum under his belt, a first-ballot Hall of Famer, multiple All-Star and All-NBA appearances, and the list goes on. And let's not forget how Pop's powers of alchemy helped out Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and Kawhi Leonard. Popovich managed to turn little-known players, such as Matt Bonner, Danny Green, and Bruce Bowen, into effective contributors. If the Spurs somehow carved out Hall of Fame careers out of late picks and brought the best out of players you wouldn't have heard of otherwise, just imagine what they can do with the most talented prospect possibly ever. The Spurs have a proven track record of not only making lemonade when life gave them lemons, but they prepared lemon chicken, lemon cheesecake, lemon cocktail, and juggled the rest of the yellow round fruits while they were at it. How this turned out should drive other teams crazy, and why wouldn't it? San Antonio was not even the worst team from last season. That honor went to the Detroit Pistons after winning just 17 games, and they ended up picking 5th. The Spurs' state rivals, the Houston Rockets, had to settle for the 4th selection, even though they both only got 22 wins and a 14% chance of winning the Wemby sweepstakes. The Pistons and the Rockets are still gonna suck for years unless a superstar is interested to play for them, or if they could package some of their young guns for a more proven commodity, both of which are easier said than done. When drafting high in the lottery, the rule of thumb is to pick the best player available and worry about the fit later. Has someone told Memphis about this when they drafted Hasheem Thabeet? Well, anyway, the Spurs don't even have to worry about either. According to NBA.com, the Spurs ranked 29th in offensive rating and dead last in defensive rating last season. They need someone to be the focal point of the offense and to anchor its defense in the paint. Wembanyama's potential to be elite on both ends is what makes him a true wonderkind prospect. From the looks of their roster right now, Wemby is the clear-cut starter at center. The Spurs were in the bottom 5 in blocks last season and allowed opponents to shoot 50.7% from the floor, the worst in the league. Having Victor play free safety in there with that 8-foot-long wingspan and a nearly 10-foot standing reach like an inflatable tube man should be enough to prevent most lob and interior passes. Any ball that somehow finds its way in the lane probably gets swatted like a fly with a rolled-up magazine. This will give the Spurs perimeter players a ton of confidence that somebody from the last line can help mitigate their mistakes. On the other end of the floor, imagine what his presence could do to guys like Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell on offense. Johnson is already an excellent multi-positional player at only 23 years of age, who averaged over 20 points in his 4th season. Vassell is very well on his way to the 20-point plateau, averaging 18.5 points per game last season and a near 40% shooter from deep. If these guys improved their scoring chops by leaps and bounds without any teammate worthy of a defensive game plan, that will all change with Victor Wembanyama. Wemby will generate easier looks for them, which should translate to better efficiency. All in all, the Spurs have solid pieces they could surround Wemby with right now. They have 2 scorers in Johnson and Vassell who are probably better as 2nd and 3rd options, plus a do-it-all, hard-nosed forward in Jeremy Sochan, who made the all-rookie 2nd team. No one might be talking about this, but Tre Jones could be the perfect non-star point guard next to Wembanyama. Tre, like his brother Tyus, is a steady hand who rarely commits turnovers and takes shots almost exclusively within the flow of the offense. I don't know if the Joneses punished their kids by making them shovel snow the whole winter if they committed a basketball error, but hey, it worked. Also worth noting was the Spurs' successful connection with French players over the years. Popovich made a Hall of Famer out of Tony Parker and made Boris Diaw a vital cog in the 2014 championship squad. Victor also played for Parker's basketball team Asvel from 2021 to 2022. There's a special relationship between France and the Spurs because of Tony, of course, and also Boris, an elated Wembanyama said on Tuesday. I know half of the country, maybe if not the whole country, wanted the Spurs to have the first pick. So I was looking at everyone, and everyone was happy, so I was too. The elephant in the room with Victor Wembanyama is his lengthy injury history, a list longer than Alaska's coastline. One wrong landing here or there could spell the difference between a generational player to a bust from contender status to cellar dwellers. We've seen this movie too many times. Many 7-footers' careers have been cut short because of injuries. Bill Walton, Sam Bowie, Ralph Sampson, Arvydas Sabonis, Manute Bol, Yao Ming, Greg Oden, Andrew Bynum, and Chet Holmgren, just to name a few. Holmgren missed the entire 2022-23 season because of a seemingly insignificant contact guarding LeBron James in transition in a meaningless Pro-Am game. The Spurs shouldn't be overthinking and losing sleep over these, but the health issues are a concern. At this point in his career, he has struggled to remain on the court, suffering a variety of ailments over the previous several years. According to ESPN, Wembanyama played only 33 of 76 potential games for Asvel Villeurbanne last season, and missed the playoffs due to an unexplained muscle issue. It was later revealed to be a psoas injury, which, according to the National Institute of Health, is a rare injury to the iliopsoas muscle, typically seen in athletes, often runners, dancers, and high jumpers. It usually results from overuse or trauma. Aside from that injury, he suffered a stress fracture in his fibula in December 2020 that took him 4 months to recover from, missed weeks due to a fractured finger in 2021, sustained a bone contusion in 2021 also, and a plethora of other small injuries. Another big man with a major injury history was Zion Williamson. The 2019 #1 overall draft pick has played only a total of 114 games over 4 seasons, missing the entire 2021-22 season with a foot issue and the rest of 2022-23 with a hamstring strain. This season, the Pelicans were flirting with a #1 seed when Zion played, and missed the playoffs entirely with him out. Williamson and Wembanyama obviously have different body types, but the comparison just goes to show how unpredictable life in the NBA is. Zion was virtually injury-free at that age, apart from the shoe-busting moment at Duke that saw his PG 2.5 kicks resemble a medieval gate opened up by a battering ram 30 seconds into a game versus North Carolina. That thing gave him a mild knee sprain, causing Williamson to miss almost a month. Now, he's at his 3rd major injury with no clear timetable for return. and dealing with chronic weight issues. In that same line of thought, the Spurs can nail this draft by selecting Wembanyama, just as the Pelicans hit the jackpot by drafting Zion 4 years ago. However, after that is a whole nother battle, and it could potentially be an ugly one. Will the Spurs and Wemby dodge the injury bullet, or will they get hit square in the face with it? Will they terrorize the NBA in the next 15 years? Or will the Spurs be back to the drawing board earlier than expected? Well, your guess is as good as mine.